on doing something that I think is kind of cool. We are going to turn this truck axle into an industrial-sized bench grinder. afternoon, everybody. So today I figured I'd give a real quick little update on one of the most popular projects that the channel did last year, which was building this glorious, what I refer to as the metal removal machine. So I know a lot of people really enjoyed these videos, and I've actually had quite a few people request an update on this thing, and I'm happy to report it is still working great. Actually, we just wore out yet another belt on this thing, and I'm going to start replacing it. Now, I've learned on belts like this, or like automotive belts or something, usually the quickest way to remove one that's just plain wore out is with a good sharp knife. So we're going to do that and toss another one on here. So yeah, I will say that I'm really happy with how this project turned out. I didn't really start into this with a plan of like what to say or anything in the video, but I'm really happy with how this thing turned out. It works great. We use this thing maybe not every day, but at least 5 or 10 times a week, you know, and we do use it. We really put the miles on it. Now I have to find a source for these belts because I only have one more. And yeah, you know, it just plain works, and it works really well. It's got tons of power. If I was going to build another one of these, would I build it again? Yes, definitely. Would I build it the same way? Pretty much. I found out the 1 horsepower motor is complete overkill for this application because, you know, when we think of a 1 horsepower motor, we think of like a power tool that's advertised as 1 horsepower, and they're usually like grossly overrated and extremely optimistic. Well, with an industrial motor like this, if anything, it's a little underrated, and it's everything that it's supposed to be, and it's just a lot more power than it needs. I probably could have saved, I don't know, 40-50 bucks by buying a smaller motor, so I do that again. And you know, these belts last so long on this thing. These are the good 3M ones. I'm not actually even sure off the top of my head how I got these things on here. I think we pretty much just have to work this around, try and shoehorn it on. So I'd probably go with a slightly smaller motor. The other thing that I might very well end up doing, I remember prying on something on this last time I did it. The other thing I would end up doing a little bit differently is, of course, making most of the components of this from CNC plasma cut materials that would then be bent to shape. Now, obviously, I couldn't really do that at the time because when I built this, that was just a couple months before I got my CNC plasma cutter running, and I also didn't have my sheet metal bending brake that I now have. So given the tools that I had at the time, other than the smaller motor, there's not really anything else that I do differently. But it works extremely well. Haven't had one single problem with it. I've put a ton of hours on this thing. So has Seth. We use it constantly. Tons of power, no issues. And maybe at some point I'll come in here and like build some guards or something for it. And maybe I'll eventually end up moving these trailer axles that we've been tripping over for like months because I always say we're going to move them and we never do. And so yeah, I guess that's about it. You know, the storage system on this works out really well. There's all kinds of crap in here. We got like some spare foot pedals and all sorts of nuts and bolts, and this toolbox which holds like my Loctite and RTV and whatnot, that lives there. It just plain works, and it works really well. The number one thing I learned on this project is about the gloriousness of pillow block bearings. Now, for anybody who's not familiar with those, I will briefly introduce you because I wish someone had briefly introduced me. What they are is they're these universal bearings. You can buy them about anywhere. I found you save a ton of money and you usually get better bearings if you buy them online, but you can even get them locally like I got these. And they're available in all sorts of different sizes. They're basically little handy-dandy universal bearings you can just put on anything, and they're really cheap. These were like 20 bucks or so. I could have gotten ones online for like 10 or 12. So yeah, really like it. Don't know what else to say. That's your random video of the day, YouTube. I'm really pleased with this machine and how well it turned out, and no complaints. So let's finish cleaning up some of these coupons we're about to TIG weld, and I'm sure you guys will continue to see this in a lot more videos to come.